the Sportsline Podcast on the CHCH multimedia platform. So pleased that you are checking in. I'm Bubba O'Neil. Hey, as I say on a week-to-week basis, in fact, I started saying this in week 1, 176 editions ago, no region, or maybe even the province, perhaps even the country, has produced the number of high-level athletes, coaches, executives, and broadcasters. On today's show, a hard-hitting, no-excuses individual from just outside of Philly who calls Hamilton his home. For nearly a dozen seasons, he dominated offensive linemen, running backs, tight ends, and to his delight, quarterbacks. If he didn't rough him up with his physicality, he did damage with his mouth, and boy, do we miss the chaos he caused on the football field.
I'm the best. Y'all gotta respect it. Oh, y'all gotta respect it. You gotta respect it.
He gets under people's skin, like for real, to the point like they want to fight.
This is football. This is football, baby. I told you, I'm gonna kill you. I'm your pops. I'm your pops. Respect me as such. He's a rat. We kill rodents. You rat. You rat. Oh, look at you, little crybaby. I'll beat your daddy up, too. Stop comparing these average players with me. They're average. Below average.
Well, he is not a below-average guest here on the Sportsline Podcast. A retired Simoni Lawrence joins us here. And I'll tell you, first of all, great to have you.
Man,
great to come and talk some football with you during the offseason. And, of course, we're hot and heavy in the National Football League, so we're going to lean on your expertise. Thanks for joining us.
Man, it's a pleasure to be here, Bub. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
You know, hey, what's up? Christmas time, just New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
I know that, as I said, your Hamilton's your home right now.
Yeah.
But did you check out to see the folks?
Of course. I took a nice little drive, went to Philadelphia. Well, outside Philadelphia, my parents now live in the suburbs in Drexel Hill. Hung out with my mom. My grandmom showed up. My dad was there. Niece, nephew, whole family was there. Mom had a layout. She had lobster. She had mac and cheese, lasagna, steak, some African food. My mom went crazy for Christmas. It was so good, just relaxing.
Well, your parents, what would be their nationality? Is it American?
My parents are from West Africa, Liberia. You know, they immigrated to America, first generation American.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's kind of similar with my parents being in Caribbean.
Yeah.
There's something about it, and I know a lot of my friends are Canadian, straight Canadian friends. You know, they generally have a turkey. I say, well, not in our house, right? There's like the 3-meat platter.
Yeah.
That's a seafood thing, right?
You know
so you got the ham going, you got the turkey going.
Buffet
there's some beef of some type.
Let's
and
go.
of course, there's either some fish or shrimp there too.
Exactly.
Right. So this is what happens, and you see, and of course, this is mom making all of it generally, right?
Yeah, mom go crazy. She wake up early in the morning and get to it.
Little macaroni pie.
Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. Bake. If it's not baked, I don't want it. Come on, baby.
Well, I'll tell you, hey, this has been interesting for me. I'm going to go back to when the last time you were here on the Sportsline Podcast, which was the week of your graduation, your retirement.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you. There was a belief among many Cat fans across this city and even across the province of the nation that you were taking a break.
Yeah.
And that if the Tiger-Cats were in contention at around Labor Day, that 21 would all of a sudden reappear. And I must admit, I was part of that faction. I admit that I was part of that. I thought you were going to come back and just a little rest up my body, need to recharge or whatever, but you didn't.
Yeah.
And you have taken on this role as the community brand ambassador of the Hamilton Sports Group and taken it to heart. You're seen all over the city. The transition, because we know, and I think I've talked to you about this before. Mike Morreale, of course, who was a part of the CFLPA, he talked to me when he was on the podcast about what the transition was like for him and how for many others the transition is very difficult.
Yeah, it is. You stop doing something that you loved your whole entire life, right? So for me, it was tough, but I had a great support system around like all the Hamilton Sports Group. You know, just my whole team. You know, Hannah works close with me, and we just had to like make it work. It's always next play mindset. So I was done playing football. I miss it every day. Sometimes I wake up and just watch 21 highlights. But at the end of the day, you have to move forward. And how can you be an all-star in something else? And this whole year, we're coming up on a year of my retirement, and we gave the city clips. We were out in the community. We're doing everything we're supposed to do, working hard with our partners that to push their brand and our brand forward. And it was just an amazing experience to see the other side of the game.
Tony Romo, Tom Brady, sorry. They've all done the media switch.
Yeah.
And you did a little as well, too, working for the Tiger-Cats Audio Network with your boy, doing Ticats Today.
Exactly.
Did that kind of keep you in touch with the team and what was going on in the trends?
Oh, I was extremely locked in. I felt like I had such a synergy with the team on exactly of what everything that was going to happen. You watch me and Courtney's Game Day podcast. We were calling games like, you would have thought that we were Coach Milanovic calling the games, knowing what was about to happen. So, that whole synergy was completely amazing. Me and Courtney had an amazing show this year, and it was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
Well, it was really hard because Mike Daly and I followed your show as we got a little closer to kickoff, and we used to sit there and go, how do we match that kind of energy that you guys have?
Bubba acting like he's not a professional. Bubba smoked it too. He's being modest. Let's go. Come on.
Hey, this has been a real interesting offseason, Simoni. I cannot remember the amount of movement of not only players, general managers, coaches, Ted Goliath coming in. Like, it's been insane. Brett Monson being hired as the Tiger-Cats' new defensive coordinator, which in some ways had people questioned because there was a assumption that Chris Jones, who finished up the season from the middle of August to the end of the season and really improved the defense, as you would probably attest to, that he would be the defensive coordinator. But now we find out that he has joined Bill Belichick's staff at North Carolina as a defensive assistant or whatever, that kind of thing. Your thoughts on that move?
I feel like it was what's supposed to happen. He's a down south guy. He'll have fun coaching there in North Carolina. Him and Bill Belichick have the same kind of attitude. No nonsense football guys, football minds. So they'll work well together. And Coach Jones still young enough to go talk to them kids, tell them kids come play for Bill Belichick. You know what I mean? So it's a whole different ball game. But at the end of the day, for Hamilton, it's like we got a good defensive coordinator. And the thing I love about what we are doing here at Hamilton is all these guys are grass-rooted. You look at Ted's from around the corner, grew up in Burlington. You look at the new defensive coordinator, he's a Hamilton guy. So it's one of those guys where they're invested. When you're from a certain place or from a certain cloth, you understand the culture, you understand the environment. So those guys, man, I don't see them failing. It'll be hard for them to fail. We're going to get their absolute best.
That's well said, because I think they understand, and I hate to say it and bring it up again, 25 years without a Grey Cup. But they understand that. They realize that the community in Tigertown, that there's a thirst for it. And I'm sure players like yourself, even now retired.
I want a Grey Cup. I'm not playing no more, so I want a Grey Cup.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is.
You're going to get some type of ring anyway.
Yes, man. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? As an organizational guy now, right? So I'm sure you want one of this too, and you want this to end. I mean, we could only go back to 99, and anyone that was around the city at the time, like, it was chaos. And to this day, guys like Danny McManus, Mike Morielli, they are Flutie, they are still heroes in this city. Hitchcock.
But don't get it misconstrued, there was a shift here when 2013, when we went on this long run for the past 10 years. We made Hamilton football very exciting to watch. Some would say we got spoiled. We got here 13 Grey Cup loss, been a very competitive team, one of the best defenses every single year. And the thing about Hamilton that I love and that the people love, it's not winning is the most important thing. Everybody wants to win the Grey Cup, but nothing brings the community played together better than the Hamilton Tiger-Cats. You look at last season, that wasn't one of our best seasons, but we were packed out games. The fans were there supporting us, screaming, yelling, building the camaraderie amongst each other. So that's what I'm looking forward to this next season. Like, how many people come together and, cheer the boys on to win a great
Well, we know that to be true, especially in the back half of the season when
Yes.
the Tiger-Cats started ripping off victories to make that late chase to the playoffs, which unfortunately did not get to. But the energy on when I was doing these pregame and halftime shows and stuff like that, where we are in the Hall of Fame for, was incredible.
Yeah.
It really is incredible when the team is winning and feeling good, and everyone's feeling good about themselves. And some of those last-second victories, like the feeling of joy, it seems to last until the very next game.
Exactly.
And it can last as long as a week. Talked about free agency coming up in the middle of February.
Yeah.
I think this is the time of year where people come, people go.
Yeah.
And along with it, many other Tiger Cat fans, you can't help but feel a little sad, maybe the word. We see some posts coming from James Butler, which would kind of signify, he's kind of saying bye-bye Hamilton. Hey, Greg Bell stepped in, 6.6 yards a carry. You can't argue with that.
Yeah.
But talk to me about how a guy like James Butler would be feeling right now.
Oh, I'll be honest. There's years I won Defensive Player of the Year, and free agency comes around, and I'm in the pits. That's just the nature of the business. So a guy like James Butler, who's been an all-star in his previous years, been very, very contributive to the Hamilton Tiger-Cats as a running back. He's feeling it right now because He pretty much got beat out of a job. And in this high performance business, that's all it's about. Like you said, happiness week to week. You never know what's going to happen week to week. And that being a high performer, you have to perform at a high level all the time because that's the nature of football. There's nobody safe in this business, especially nobody safe in the business where you don't make the playoffs as well. You can say that this guy was that, but at the end of the day, you didn't make the playoffs. So you said earlier, you talked about all the turnover. You need turnover. That's what's going to happen when you don't go to the playoffs. You're going to have to find a way to get better. And James Butler, nothing's been set in stone yet. So it's just like feelings and emotions. And as an athlete and as an elite athlete, you have to be able to tuck them emotions and go put them into something valuable. Anytime I felt this way, I was doing 4 days. I was working out in the morning, in the afternoon, in the midday, at nighttime, because I wanted my emotions to go to something conducive of winning. And that's what you have to do as a player and as an elite player. You put your emotions in a position where you can go and make plays and make yourself better as a player.
I've heard you say this before to the microphones, to me, to anyone, that in football, because we see you don't see it as much in baseball and basketball and hockey, but football is a business.
Yeah.
Hard one.
It's a tough one. Bub, there's been times so in 2011, 2011, I was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was a preseason game. They drafted a guy 3rd round, and I was playing the linebacker, the same position he was playing. I completely beat him out of the job. Rondé Barber, for Hall of Fame safety, came up to me like, Simoni, you're a really good player. My whole mind was like, I'm going to make this team. There's no way I don't make this team. I completely beat this guy out. But that side of business, on the other side of the border, it's who's getting the money. The 3rd round draft picks getting the money. And even though I may felt like I won the job, that's not how the business goes. And so what you have to do as a player in the National Football League, in the Canadian Football League, you have to make yourself valuable in so many different ways. Simoni Lawrence, I could sack the quarterback. I could tackle. I could cover. I'm out in the community. You have to make yourself extremely valuable where it's no questions asked, and that's what you have to do as a player. And as free agency comes around, all I'm doing is posting clips of me working out. I don't care about no feelings. I don't care about no fans be feeling sorry for me. I'm posting pictures of me running out, working out, and anything that I feel like I may have not been the best in, all my videos is me being the best at that.
And I thought that was great because sometime during the regular season this year, you posted yourself working out a little bit, which led to more people thinking, he's coming back. He's coming back.
Hey, look, you got to keep
messing with us.
But look, at the end of the day, Bubba, Can I come back this year? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You just never
Stirring the pot. Stirring
the business is the business, yo. And if the business needs 21 to take it off the wall, I'm coming. You know what I mean?
Let's slide over to the National Football League. And I think there are some feelings that are going to be hurt for fans because, boy, it's been years since I've seen such a discussion. And sometimes the discussions are getting heated over the National Football League MVP award. I got 3 up there. There's just a bunch of them. I think there's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson.
Perfect.
There's Saquon. There's Jared Goff. Joe Burrow, if the team made the playoffs, he threw for more yards and touchdowns than anyone. He could be on this list. But I narrowed it down
to the Bengals make the playoffs?
They did not make the playoffs.
Oh, okay, then that don't matter.
Okay. but that's what I'm saying. He deserves to be in the consideration or the conversation. But I narrowed it down to these 3 which I think seem to be the consensus for most people. Josh Allen, I mean, in what was supposed to be an off year for the Bills, went off. And he has put his team in an incredible situation, the 2 seed. He's been a threat with his legs. He's been a threat with his arm. And he's cut down on the mistakes. Lamar Jackson is putting up video game numbers, right? Like, it's ridiculous what he's done. Like, the first person to ever throw for 4,000 yards and rush for 800. Now, I will say there's a proviso there because it's 17 games, not 16, in terms of breaking the record. Saquon Barkley becomes one of 9 people in National Football League history to surpass the 2,000-yard plateau. There is your 3. Get at it.
Let's get to it. Josh Allen, you can't deny his talent. And the thing about Josh Allen, he found a way to get better this season. You know, his numbers are out of the world. You know, he led this team to a great record during the regular season. But if you're doing just like side by side, Lamar Jackson beats him out. And the argument is, I hear a lot of people making the argument like Josh Allen doesn't have the weapons that Lamar Jackson has.
Which is true.
I would say Coleman is better than the Ravens' #1 receiver, in my opinion. If I'm drafting, who's going to draft Bateman over Coleman?
No.
Nobody.
No one.
I would say Baltimore doesn't even have a #1 receiver, if we're being completely honest. Zay Flowers is a slot receiver, and that's what he does, you know, and he's out for this game. But the thing that helped Lamar Jackson out tremendously is that beast, Derrick Henry. You know what I mean? So it's like, those guys, it's a wash. Get them out of here. Give the MVP to Saquon. 2,000 yards in the 2,000 yards in the NFL, and he missed the last game of the season. Come on, he was going to break the record. That's hard to do. And the thing about Saquon is, like, he's a beast. He's a monster. He came from the Giants, and everybody wrote him off. The Giants wrote him off. Did you see how the GMs were talking about him like he was chopped liver?
Yes.
Laughing at him over the phone?
Yes.
I would fire everybody over there at the Giants. What the heck? And then he came out here and embarrassed the Giants. He was a secret catalyst for the Philadelphia Eagles when Jalen Hurts, everybody knew Jalen Hurts was not the guy we might have thought he was going to be, you know, not worth how much we give him, like $100-something million or something like that.
He's got a big contract.
He's got a huge contract.
Top 5.
And they still went out to get Saquon Barkley. That says a lot about how the Eagles felt about Jalen, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So if I'm giving it to Saquon because I feel like the quarterback battle is way too close. So let's give it to the running back, and let's not hurt anybody's feelings. Give it to Saquon.
Well, I'm almost in the consideration, and I think this happened sometime in sometime in the mid '90s, where there was a splitsville between Favre and Manning. I believe they did that, and I'm almost wondering if it'll boil down to that. But you're kind of right in the sense with the running back, because it hasn't happened as much in the CFL, but in the NFL, it seems like they've devalued the running back position.
You see what I'm saying?
And he broke out this year and really became the reason why Philadelphia, I believe, have taken another step.
Exactly. And not only just Philadelphia, look at teams like Detroit. That running game is the reason why.
Gibbs.
Yes. That's why Jared Goff is over 4,600 yards passing. Because you have to put these people in the box. These running backs are going to start getting paid, especially because of what Saquon. And then another thing, Saquon has the play of the year. Who doesn't want to see somebody jumping over somebody ass backwards? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was crazy. So let's just show that over
I thought
and over
the
again.
Josh Allen play in the snow was pretty crazy,
That
too.
was sick, but if you're going to compare that, then you got to put video game Lamar Jackson, who's beating them in every statistic that you can possibly think of, including turnovers.
Yeah. Which is, for both of them, the amount of times that they are holding the ball, whether it be run in the pass, and to see their turnovers being so low is just absolutely sick. The only thing with the 2,000-yard club, I don't know, I mean, I thought it was interesting, first of all, that Eric Dickerson, who owns the all-time leading rusher in terms of yardage, a little to 2,100 and something yards.
2,100, such a great number.
I know, apparently so. Apparently so. 21, right? Now, I thought it was interesting that he said he didn't want anyone breaking his record.
Yo, who wants somebody to break the record? When somebody breaks my 17 tackles in the game, what the hell am I going to talk about? I feel you, Dickerson.
The approach of an athlete, okay? Right, of a pro athlete, okay? I think because some people were kind of tossing him shade. And it's like, you know, the Gretzky guy, hey, records are meant to be broken or whatever.
But not your record. Their records, but not your records.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We'll go with that. So, hey, that's an interesting perspective. I did not expect that from you. I don't know if it has to do with the Philly in you, but I respect your professional aspect and the way that you broke that down. Because Saquon had an unbelievable year, and especially in a year where people thought he was smoke. They thought it was done.
Saquon is such a hard cover, you know. Not only in the running game, just like when you have a running back that can make a 1-yard play into a 5-yard play consistently, you're putting yourself ahead of the sticks. You're giving your offense a chance to win the games all the time. Even if you're struggling. The backup quarterback was out there with Saquon. Backup quarterback looked good because of Saquon.
Right.
He's making everybody better. And to your offense, that's what a Greg Bell does. Greg Bell catches the ball, and something that looks like 4 yards turns into 15 yards. That's why Greg Bell is so exciting to watch, because, you know, that 5-yard play can turn into 50 yards ASAP. And that's entertainment football. And, you know, this is sports entertainment.
No doubt. Speaking of entertainment, you and I had a conversation and thought it would be really good to bring you in to talk about the NFL playoffs. So we're going to have you here for 3-4 straight weeks.
Yeah, okay.
And, you know, if we can get in the phone somehow, some way, we want Simoni's Super Bowl playoff.
Oh,
pick,
man. Oh,
right?
Get your money ready. Listen, Bub, if you a gambler, y'all, I don't know who gamble. My mama told me not to gamble. But if you a gambler, you listen to these picks, we're going to get you paid.
Right on. Okay, so these are silently not to the point spread, but we will just go and pick the teams. And, you know, the Green Bay Packers, 11-6, visit Philly, the 14-3 Philadelphia Eagles. It does look like they're going to have their starting quarterback ready. He practiced for the first time, coming off 3 weeks missed with a concussion.
Yeah.
I think we're both lockstep here with the Eagles. I think they're the better team.
Yeah, Eagles are the better team in this game. Saquon Barkley, he's fresh, he's rested. He really wanted to break the record. You can tell in his mannerisms when he was talking about it. So he's going to come out here for a statement game. You know, all of his teammates like, yo, go show us what you would have done if you would have broke the record. You know, let's see if you would have broke the record in this playoff game. That's what I'm saying as a teammate, you know, because the goal is Super Bowl. Don't ever get it messed up. You know, individual success is cool, but like, let's see what you can do during this game. And the thing about the Packers is they're banged up, man. Love just got hurt. You know, in the beginning of the season, their offense looked fire, but on the back end of the season, I don't know what's going on. The only thing that looks good for the Packers right now is Jacobs, the running back, because he's been toting the rock. But Philadelphia,
no Watson.
And the thing about no Watson, then Philadelphia, I was so worried about their defense, but now they're like one of the top defenses in the National Football League. With that offense, it's tough.
You don't need to name names, and this is the only thing that scares me about Philly.
Yeah.
There's some quarterback wide receiver beef that kind of went on all season long, and there's the word that gets affixed to receivers about prima donna and, you know, got to be stroked, right? And I don't know how that dynamic works on the offense, but there was some beef there between the quarterback and the receivers that that he's not getting the ball out on time and not feeding them. Can that work against you?
No, not in the playoffs, because it's one of those things where they're all brothers. Brothers fight all the time. I had a brother, me and my brother used to play basketball in the house with one of those dollar store hoops, and we'd be fighting each other all the time. But at the end of the day, they're brothers. Everybody's just in a competitive environment. And let's be honest, Jalen Hurts was holding the ball too long, and he was taking too many hits, and maybe he wasn't getting the ball to his star receivers fast enough. And that's just the facts. And when you're close to somebody, you're able to correct them. And that's just what I feel like AJ was doing. The next week, what was Jalen Hurts doing? Getting the ball to AJ, and what happened? You see what I'm saying? He came out there with his big chain on. I mean, my chain not that big. Shout out Barry Jewelers. But, like, he came out there and said, is that what y'all want? And he gave him that's what we want. Yep. So, yes, it's like whatever way you can motivate guys is what you have to do as a professional athlete. High ransom game. Philadelphia walks off with this, man.
Okay, the 12-5 Commanders. Whoa, 12-5.
Ooh.
Going to South Florida to face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Who are the division champions. Of course, the Commanders are the wild card team in this. Now, we don't have your pick, correct. I'm going to change that up. Yeah. Your pick is?
I got the Commanders.
Ooh.
I got the Commanders. This is a CFL game, Bubba.
What?
Let me explain this to you.
Okay.
I look at this game like Winnipeg versus Toronto. I'm in my head like, this is going to be a quarterback game. That Jaden Daniels, monster. But Baker, he's been balling out of his mind, you know. He's broken their franchise record. He's the guy. You know who that is? That's Zach Collaros, right? And I was sitting there like, there's no way that Nick Armbuckle is going to beat Zach Collaros. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking around, I'm like, and the Tampa Bay has this running game going, but I'm still like, they're going to find a way to win. Commanders are on fire. And the thing about the Commanders is they're just rolling hot. They're a team that they're destined to do something great. And the thing about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is they're too wishy-washy. Sometimes they're great and sometimes they're very average. So I'm looking at that game like I'm giving it to the Commanders. You know, like I think the Commanders are going to pull out this game some way.
I love what Jalen Daniels did this season as a rookie quarterback, and really kind of eliminated a stigma of losing of what's going on in Winnipeg. You got me? And Washington, and some of their wins, like at last second, the Hail Marys, they come in, just unbelievable comebacks. They've been really, really igniting the Commander sort of fan base in DC. But I will say this. I think of two teams, and I'll probably have to repeat myself a little bit later. Yeah. Teams like Denver Broncos and the Washington Commanders, who both teams I didn't think were going to make the playoffs this year. They've made huge strides and could be a threat to advance in out of this wild card round. But I feel like it's an applaud to those guys. Congratulations for making the playoffs. You guys are maybe a year or two ahead of what your progress should be. Yeah. But this is where it stops.
I hear, and you make complete sense in that. But I look at guys like Daniels. Those kind of guys are never satisfied. Those kind of guys don't want to be like, yeah, he was just good in the playoffs, da-da-da. You know all the stuff they talk about Lamar Jackson. So, and that's the comparisons between Daniels, So he's like, how can I come out and be better than a Lamar Jackson? Winning a playoff game. That's right. And then those boys ride behind them. And I feel like the Commanders are going to sneak this game out. Buccaneers, that's a tough team. That was the game where I was like, I'm giving it to Commanders. So that's the one. I knew you was probably going to pick the Buccaneers, and most of our picks were going to be the same, but I was like, let's go Commanders. I'm going to go Commanders.
Yeah, I think there's a fair pick, and there's a lot of reason there. 14-3 Vikings. Imagine being 14-3 and the 5 seed, and you got to go on the road. You got to go on the road at that and face the 10-7 Rams. Now, this is I think this is going to be an interesting game. Monday night playoff, which is weird to me, because if you got to play on Saturday in the divisionals, I mean, how much time do you have to practice and prepare for your next opponent? It's crazy for me to think about that. Yeah. But let's just also establish the fact that this could be, based on the incredible disaster that's going on in the Los Angeles area with the fires, that this could be, the National Football League have already alerted the fan bases and the teams and the networks that this could be a neutral site game played in Arizona. We're not there yet, but their potential of that is hanging out. Regardless, if you look at the two teams, the Vikings and the Rams, and you like the upset.
I like the upset, Bubba. The Vikings made me so mad last week that I don't even want to see them play football anymore. They came out, I thought that was going to be a slugfest against Detroit, and they came out there and folded. Detroit just beat them up. Sam Darnold looked like, okay, that's what Sam Darnold was supposed to look like the whole season. And this is Sam Darnold's first playoff game in his whole entire life. Right. If that stage was too big for him in a playoff game that really wasn't a playoff game, but was a playoff game, I'm curious to see what it's going to look like on the road in Rams. And look, the Rams already beat them this season as well, so they have that confident factor too. So I was like, I'm looking around, I'm like, maybe the Vikings woke up after getting beat up by Detroit, but I'm giving it to the Rams. Sam Darnold's first playoff game, I don't see him winning.
It's amazing how one loss, and the way let's be honest, and he looked too jacked out. Like all that's
deer in the headlights.
Opportunities in the scoring zone and not getting it done. And you have incredible, talented wide receivers, like maybe they are best in the game in Jefferson. And he was sailing passes. I thought I think they had 4 trips inside the red zone and came up, they missed on a 4th down, and then they kicked 3 field goals. Which was just bizarre to me, seeing how he had operated, the 16 games prior. And it has opened up this conversation, as we're going a little too far here, but it has opened up the conversation if they even sign him, because you have J.J. McCarthy, who they drafted in the 1st round. As you said, this is a business.
It's a business.
And they drafted that guy in the 1st round to be the guy, and Darnold had this incredible season. Right? And that Darnold may be a guy that they maybe franchise or they just trade. So with that said, I would have to think that he, as a professional athlete, and you can attest to this, would be so embarrassed at what you did in the national spotlight, arguably the greatest game of the season, first time 2 teams ever match, that he would be embarrassed. He has to know when they look at the film, yikes, a lot of this is on me.
Yeah, a lot of it was on him, and what Detroit did was crack the code. What do you do to stop Sam Darnold? You collapse the pocket, you send +1s, you make decisions. The guy was seeing things that wasn't even there. There was a beautiful move at the top of the end zone by Jefferson, and he completely sailed the ball just because he was panicking, and that's just because he's not used to being in the spotlight. I'll tell you something about the spotlight, yo. If you're not built for that, some people cannot perform. When you're a 12-3 football, you're just ooh la 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 la, everything is good, la la la, and then you hit the spotlight. Oh snap! Everybody looking at me. Everybody talking about me. What's going on? Why am I getting all this attention? We were just 12-3. Nobody was really looking at us, But now we're the only game at nighttime. That boy started panicking, Bubba.
It's true. You know what? I love leaning. This is why I love why you're here. We can lean on some of the the dozen of years of experience you had playing professional football, and even prior to that in the college days. Did you ever, across your days in the CFL, see maybe a running back, or more importantly, a quarterback, where you thought deep down he's scared?
Yes. I'll tell you this. I'm not going to say the guy's name because I have so much respect for him, but everybody going to be able to guess. We were playing BC in 2018, and they came to our house in Hamilton, and, it was a big game. It was the first crossover that ever happened, and we were going against the BC Lions, and I looked at all the boys and I said, there's no way this guy is going to be able to focus and compete in this Hamilton Tiger-Cat environment. He's not built for this kind of spotlight. And boy, if we ain't smack him and put it on him all game, if he wasn't overthrowing and we ain't beat them by 50 points, it's just, you feel it. It's a feel, all the lions all the sharks can smell the blood, you know what I mean?
You can't see it in their eyes.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see it. And Sam Darnold I don't hope he picks me wrong because I want to beat Bubba in this competition that we having, but
Fair.
But I got to give it to the Rams. I'm gonna give it to the Rams.
To the AFC,
Ooh, okay.
the 11-6 Chargers versus the 10-7 Texans. This one's in the Lone Star State, and we both like the Chargers.
Yeah, I love the Chargers. I'm taking the Chargers every day of the week. The Texans are on like a downslope. You know, they're going into the playoffs and they haven't been playing good football. They haven't been playing good continuity football. They're trending downward. So even though it's in Texas, this is advantages to the Chargers. Chargers are going to win this game.
It's strange. C.J. Stroud kind of had this sophomore slump a little bit.
You know why, right?
Because of Diggs not being there?
No. It's because he got caught up in the life.
You think so?
Yeah, the life get to you. When you're the man, when you have that first season of success, you have to have somebody that sits you down and be like, yo, whatever you was doing, you got to keep doing. I started seeing CJ Stroud with people like Amber Rose and all the supermodels and the vixens. That's what's going to get you. That's what's going to get you. It's hard to focus in Houston if you don't stay focused in Houston.
Right.
So it's one of those things where he needs to like go back to the lab, focus on how to be the number one quarterback that we all thought. Like, because last year I'm looking at CJ, I'm like, ooh, this boy's going to be a problem. Now I'm looking at Daniels and I'm like, yo, Daniels, learn from CJ Stroud because you're in the same position that he's in right now. So just stay focused and continue to trend up because CJ Stroud, that boy turned into Tony Romo or something. And you know Tony Romo don't win no playoff games.
No. I'm talking about my quarterback. Stop that. You know, I can see this game being close if they get Joe Mixon involved.
Yeah.
Because I think he's the kind of back, this style of football, run the football, move the chains, time of possession.
Yeah.
If they can get Mixon involved, and he can catch out of the backfield as well, too, I think they can keep this game close. I also wonder what it's like for Harbaugh, as in college, pro.
He know how to wake them boys up.
Back coaching in a playoff game, and I know he's a master motivator. There's no doubt about that. And I often wondered if he was just a master motivator of kids, but it seems like he can motivate men as well too.
100%, because it's like it's authentic. That's what he's used to doing. As a football player, the first thing you see is like you look at your coach and you can always tell when he's trying too hard. Harbaugh doesn't have to try too hard because that's his world. That's who he's always been. Even his brother in the Ravens. And the thing about the Chargers, you made a great point about like Mixon getting started running the ball, but I don't think that the Texans are going to be able to run the ball because the Chargers are going to get out fast. They score. They score points and they score points fast. You can't run the ball when you scoring points. You got to put it in C.J. Stroud hand. And once you put it in C.J. Stroud hand, collapse the pocket, same thing, game over.
Oh, this is one that I think is going to be. I can't believe the spread on this game is 10 points. And let me explain why.
Okay.
Okay, we've got this 10-7 Steelers versus the 12-5 Ravens.
Yeah.
Okay, we both got the Ravens. But I will say this. If there's any team that know how to beat the Ravens, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right? Their head coach has a key to unlocking the Ravens. In fact, he's won. He's defeated the Ravens more time than anyone else. Of course, they're division teams, which, as you well know, when you're a division team, you know a little more.
Yeah.
The meetings against each other are a little more often, and the rivalry really steps up. They're generally low-scoring games. And the fact that it's a 10-point spread for Pittsburgh, and I know it's in Baltimore, they have the stars, they have the possible MVP.
Yeah.
But boy, I think the Steelers can keep it close.
I think they're going to get blown out.
Really?
I think they're going to get blown out because, Bubba, they cannot play the Ravens style of football. The Ravens are going to score points. That's just what's going to happen. The Ravens are going to score points. And the thing about Pittsburgh, they get off to these slow starts, and they make mistakes. They're not a good enough football team to make mistakes. Pittsburgh has to play a perfect game to win. A perfect game to win. The Ravens can make mistakes and still win this game. And the thing about the Ravens that everybody's scared of, everybody's like, Lamar Jackson, he gets to the playoffs, 9 touchdowns, 9 turnovers. He's looking shaky all the time. But look, he can relax, take a deep breath. Number 22, that man back there, just give them the ball a little bit. Let them beat them up. Boom, boom, boom. Read option. Pull it a little bit. These tight ends, I love the tight ends for the Ravens. I think that's their strong suit for the passing game. They did lose Zay Flowers because they were record chasing and stuff like that later in the season and stuff. But I think that they're still a good enough team to walk by Pittsburgh. And no, because I will say I am a big Tomlin fan. I didn't even think Pittsburgh was going to make the playoffs this season or be good.
They were 10-3 at one time.
That's what I'm saying. And I did see another stat about Russell Wilson being highly effective in the playoffs, but man, Russell, bro, I ain't believe
What is it with Russell? Russell's got a lot of fans, and Russell has a lot of guys that I've heard say soft.
Yeah, Russell's one of those players where it's like if you play on Russell Wilson's team, he has the talent to be an elite quarterback, but like he just so, you know what I mean? Like none of the tough stuff you believe. So like as a defensive player, I look at Russell and I'm putting everything I got into Russell. Russell, you tougher than all these boys. Forget what they talking about, because I'm trying to motivate Russell to be the elite quarterback he is, because he's one of those guys, once he starts playing bad, the teammates are like, man, I told you so. I told you he corny. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, because that's a quiet thing that everybody hears. So as a leader on defense, especially like a Watt, you have to be in Russell's ear like, yo, you the best. You always come to these games. You perform. You've been here before. So if Pittsburgh can put that confidence in Russell like Tomlin did earlier in the season when he first started playing, maybe they don't cover the spread. But Lamar Jackson is coming out here to prove something too, because after they rob him of the MVP IMO, he gonna be furious.
Yeah. But I do believe you're right about, and you have to talk about Lamar Jackson's playoff record. The Chiefs have got him, the Bills have got him. There's something that seems to happen to him, and I know there was even a time where there's a thought that maybe he might end up in Miami.
Yeah, because he don't like that cold.
Right, clearly he doesn't. There was a change, multiple changes of offensive coordinators. Yeah. They seem to got it locked in right now. Right, him and Monken they got something going on right now, but this is stage one for him to start proving that, they belong in the AFC Championship conversation.
No, for sure.
Speaking of AFC Championship conversation, there's a lot of people, because of the geography of where this podcast is being taped here in Hamilton, Ontario, so close to the Below, that the Buffalo Bills are going back to the Super Bowl. Their people are that hyped about this team right now. 13-4 Bills hosting the 10-7 Denver Broncos under their rookie quarterback Nix, that has looked so solid, so poised, so confident. Can Bo Nix lead the Broncos to a victory at Highmark Stadium on Sunday at 1:00 p.m.?
I wanted to pick Denver. I called one of the coaches for Denver. I was like, how can y'all come into Buffalo and win this game? He said defense wins championships. I know he only said that because I'm a defensive genius and he thought he could rub the tires. I was like, yo, I'm about to go on the show and talk about your team. Let me know how y'all going to win this game. He's like, defense wins champions. Look at it. We got one of the best defenses this year. We haven't been this good since Von Miller and those boys, and you know what happened last time. I'm like, y'all not about to win no Super Bowl. And then, so then he starts talking about records that he's like, yo, we got the sack franchise record. We sacking the quarterbacks. I think they got the NFL record for sacks as well, too. But at the end of the day, Bo Nix beating the runner-up, in my opinion, for MVP is unlikely. If that happens, if Bo Nix comes to Denver and beats the Bills, what's his name? Josh Allen need to come be Bo Levi backup. Come on, Bubba. If Bo Nix come to Buffalo and beat Josh Allen come be Bo Levi backup. And that's why I took the Bills.
Because it's
not happening. Come on, Bubba. I don't care if y'all got Sean Payton being the quarterback whisperer or not. Josh Allen lose to Bo Nix. Come back up, Bo Levi Mitchell, Josh.
I think it's hard for Denver to travel into Buffalo. And they played 2 years ago, and Denver beat them. Completely different situation, in my opinion. And a playoff situation where also the Bills, like the Ravens, are, I don't know if they feel it, or maybe they relish it, that they want an opportunity to somehow, because everything is going to end up in KC. Everyone's going to Missouri at some point at Arrowhead. It's just scripted that way.
It's always the Taylor Swift effect.
Like somehow, some way, I don't care if the refs have something to do with it. I don't care what happens. Either the Ravens or the Bills are going to KC because really, whether it be the Bills or the Ravens, the storylines against the Chiefs are unbelievable.
Yeah, all of it.
Right? Like the history between the Bills and the Chiefs. And the fact that the Bills are one of the teams that beat the Chiefs, the one team to beat the Chiefs this year in the regular season.
The regular season.
Right? And they've done that before in the regular season.
The regular season.
And of course, that you got the Ravens that are thinking, we know how to beat the Chiefs, but they just haven't done it.
Everybody know how to beat the Chiefs until it's time to beat the Chiefs, Bubba. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, there's a reason Andy Reid is the highest paid coach in the NFL. The regular season never looks like that. Even as good as the Chiefs played in the regular season, like he finds ways to get better in the playoffs. And that's just coaching. That's simply coaching. Right. He finds ways. So I'm excited for this week's games, you know.
You brought up Sean Payton and what he has done in terms of being a quarterback whisperer. And it's funny because he went into Denver and basically punted Russell Wilson out of town. He basically did, right?
But you gotta know Sean Payton personality. Sean Payton is like he's a tough coach, and like tough coaches like coaching tough players.
Okay, fair enough. and he's got a guy now, you know, so I look at the two coaches. Yeah. And Sean McDermott is more of a defensive-minded kind of guy, always has been. The offense takes care of itself. And I think there's a contrast there too, because there's been a little criticism of McDermott sometimes that he doesn't fire them up enough or whatever. There's kind of that argument kind of going on. Do you ever see that there's a time where there's a battle of the coaches, or is it really up to the player execution?
Listen, Sean McDermott's not a rah-rah guy. I played my first year in the NFL with the Vikings. With the Philadelphia Eagles. He was my defensive coordinator. And a guy like McDermott, he's a football mind. He knows where everybody's supposed to be. He knows what everybody's supposed to do. He's a teacher of the game. He knows how to teach. So a guy like McDermott, he's going to rely on his individual coaches, linebacker coaches, defensive back coaches, D-line coaches to fire those guys up. So that mindset is not really realistic. There's a reason there's all these coordinators, because they know the players the most. They know how to get light the fire under the guys' butts. You know what I mean? So, that don't got nothing to do with nothing. I think McDermott washes Peyton.
Well, Simoni, I look forward to us connecting next week. Yeah. We can kind of obviously go over some of these picks. And there's somewhere along the line where there's going to be an upset. It rarely happens. Sometimes everything goes to the script and the favorites win. But you know there's going to be one of them. You picked a couple upsets. And it'll be interesting to look forward when we talk about the divisionals next week. And this drive to the Super Bowl. Thanks for joining us. Always appreciate your candor, your enthusiasm, your knowledge, obviously, which is so good. I'm looking forward to next week already.
Man, Bub, I can't wait to get back here. But you know, all this NFL talk, go Hamilton Tiger-Cats. Everybody get y'all season tickets. You know, it's going to be an amazing season this year. You know, call your ticket reps and make sure that you locked in. I'll come visit y'all. Y'all know how the games is. 21 running around the stadium saying what's up to the kids and the fans. You know, make sure y'all get y'all tickets, yo. Go Ticats.
Coming back?
Of course. Nah.
That's your Sportsline Podcast for the day. And as you just seen and heard, we love talking sports, especially with a guy like a Simoni. How can you not love this, folks? I love my job. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote, the Sportsline Podcast, do you want to hear from you? Please hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe button. And if you have something to say, like this fella, please comment, because it makes us a better podcast. For the wonderful people that make the Sportsline Podcast possible, thank you so very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.